now my freezer is full of these bananas that have gone overripe. You got those? I probably have a dozen. And the perfect way to use those is banana bread. But how about switching things up with a spiced banana nut bread?
Erica Schlick, author of Wandering Palate, is going to show you how to make it. Take a look.
Hi there, today we're going to be making one of my favorite recipes on my blog. This is going to be my Paleo banana nut bread. And what I really love about this bread is how simple it comes together. You probably have the ingredients in your pantry already to make it, along with a few fresh ingredients that are needed. And the best part is it's gluten-free, grain-free, can be made dairy-free, and also refined sugar-free. So I'm going to show you how to make it today. It's pretty simple. One of the first steps that you'll want to do is you're going to want to use 3 overripe bananas, and you're going to want to mash those in a bowl, and they should mash down fairly quickly because they're already a little bit overripe. And I like to cut out any of the dark spots that, are a little rotten in the bananas, but you can use the rest of the bananas. So this is a great recipe that you can use when you've got those bananas, you're about ready to toss them in the trash and you don't know what to do with them. So we've got our bananas that have been mashed. I'm going to go ahead and set those aside. And I like to use a stand mixer, but of course you can do this all by hand as well. And we've got 3 large eggs that I'm going to go ahead and add into my stand mixer. And I'm using the whisk attachment, so we're just going to turn that on and we're going to beat these eggs. And you don't need to overbeat them just yet because we're going to be adding in quite a few other ingredients to it. And also with the bananas, don't worry if you don't fully mash them, the blender is going to take care of it all for you. And so now we've got our grass-fed butter. And so you can either use grass-fed butter or you can also use coconut oil if you want to make a dairy-free version. I personally like to use grass-fed butter because I think it bakes really well, but it's up to you what you want to use. We're going to go ahead and keep the mixer on while we add in our maple sugar. So this is a 1/4 cup of maple sugar that we're adding. And we're going to do 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. We've got 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. And we have half a teaspoon of nutmeg. And we're just going to go ahead and let that fully combine. And sometimes I find that the spices like to just creep up on the side of the mixing bowl, so I like to use a rubber spatula and just kind of push that down. You can even rub it back onto the whisk attachment just so that you can get that combined into the mix of the bread. And once that's mixed together, we're going to go ahead and add in our mashed bananas. And so this is going to take care of any of those last lumps that you had that you weren't quite sure how to get out. So we're going to go ahead and pour that in here. And we'll turn our mixer on right back up again. You can do it at a fairly high speed so that it combines fairly well in there. And once that's mixed, we'll just go ahead and turn that off for a moment, and we're going to go over to our dry ingredients. And so for the flour for this bread, I'm using 1 cup of cassava flour, and this is a very great flour. It's grain-free, also gluten-free, and you can use it 1-to-1 for regular flour. And then we have 1.5 tablespoons of our baking soda, and we have baking powder, and we have our sea salt here that we're going to be adding. And I like to use a whisk, and I just combine that a little bit just to get it fully mixed in. Now, one tip with cassava flour, it tends to create a cloud of cassava flour and go all over your kitchen. So I always like to use this cover on my mixer just to prevent that from, creating a cloud all over your kitchen because it's not fun to clean up. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on our mixer, slow again. And I'm going to go ahead and dump in our dry mixture. And as you can see, we've got a little bit of cloud action going on, but for the most part, it's keeping it pretty contained and getting our dry ingredients into the mixing bowl, which is where we want them. So we'll go ahead and turn that up. And we want that to fully mix in there. And again, this is where I like to use that tip of, opening up the mixer, using your rubber spatula, pulling everything down off the sides to make sure everything combines as well as possible. So we're going to go ahead and give that one more mix. And our bread is almost done. So now the last step is we're going to get our mixture here, get as much of the ingredients off the whisk as you can, and we're going to fold in our nuts and our chocolate chips. So the chocolate chips are completely optional. If you want to make it more of a dessert, you can obviously add some of those in. If you want to keep it more of a breakfast bread or not so sweet, you can definitely omit the chocolate chips, but we're just going to go ahead and use the rubber spatula and fold those in. And we have our nuts as well. So you have some options. You can either do walnuts that have been chopped down, or you can do hazelnuts. Both work really well in the recipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and do hazelnuts today. And that was 1 cup of hazelnuts, and that was half a cup of chocolate chips. So as you can see, our mixture is pretty well combined here. Everything has been folded in. And we're gonna be using a 9x5 loaf pan. And I've greased this with some grass-fed butter. Again, you can use coconut oil if you want to do a dairy-free version as well. And I'm going to go ahead and pour all our ingredients in here. And it can be a little tricky to get everything out. So again, this is where your rubber spatula comes in to really clean off the sides of your bread. And just like that, once you have your ingredients in, I like to give it a good toss, kind of back and forth. You can even use your spatula to try to smooth out the top of it, to get the top to be as smooth as possible for when you bake it, and give it one more toss. And that's it, it's ready to go. We're gonna put it in our oven at 350 degrees, and it's gonna bake for about 50 minutes. Okay, our bread is out of the oven, and I've been letting it cool for about 30 minutes or so, and it's ready to come out of the loaf pan so we can finally taste it. And to get it out, I like to use just a flat butter knife, and you can just scrape along the edges of it just to loosen it and make sure that it's going to come out easily. And once you've done that, you just need to grab your loaf pan. It pops right out into your hand. And we can set it on a plate and we can dive in and finally taste it. So it obviously tastes the best warm, but you can always warm it up later in the week, and you can put a little bit of butter on it. And as you can see, it slices very easily here. And I'm gonna go ahead and have a taste of it. Mmm, so good. I got a bite with a chocolate chip, which is just delicious. So not only does it taste good, but your entire house is gonna smell delicious. You can use this for breakfast, you can eat it as a dessert, whatever you'd like. It's absolutely delicious, and you can find this recipe on my blog at thetrailtohealth.com. You can also find other recipes in my cookbook, Wandering Palate. The favorite bread recipe rivals between this one and my blueberry lemon loaf recipe that is in there. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy out there.